Hey, I figured I would share today my favorite offline liberty exercise with you guys. I have videos from probably about 2018, so 6 years ago, of how to start liberty training with your horse. I have a part 1 and a part 2, but I haven't really elaborated after that, and I've changed some things that I do since then, so I'll have to make an updated video on those soon. But for those of you wanting to work offline with your horse, the groundwork is really essential online. But those of you that are at that stage that have a soft horse, want to learn a little bit more whip management and how to start with funneling, this is a great video for you. So the exercise we're going to look at is funneling. I think I've probably talked about it a few other times. I want you to pay attention to the tools you are using. You can either use a carriage whip, which is this longer stick with the tail on the end, or a dressage stick. I'm going to do 2 dressage sticks today. Sometimes it's easier to manage those as someone that's new to this and new to whip management. So I'll chuck this carriage stick out of the way. That's good for later on when you want to add more energy to your horse, but right now we're focusing on straightness and kind of creating that draw. So again, if you refer back to those videos, I'll link them in the description of creating a draw and how to get some of that basic body control and groundwork going. That's a great place to start, and then building off of it. I'm going to show you first here with my horse Lynx, and then I might show you a few clips with a horse that hasn't done it before. Okay, so there's a few basic rules when you're funneling. You're going to have those 2 sticks. Okay, and 1 is going to be on each side of the horse. It's important that you keep the sticks up high enough when you start this that you can touch their cheeks with your hand. You can see even just me slightly poking it, he's moving his head from, he knows how to respond to that pressure. So they always need to stay at cheek height. So if your horse is up here trying to avoid initially, good boy, you want to keep the sticks all the way up there. The other thing about these sticks, if they are up, your horse should be moving. Okay, that's why he keeps walking forward into me. If they're up, they're moving. If they're down, they're standing still. So think about your energy in terms of higher for more, lower for less. Okay, down here is the resting position, up here is neutral, further up is if you want trot. And again, if they're blocking, you want to keep that nose in between. I find the most common issue I run into is people get down here with their sticks, and you see what happens is this nose is out, that horse can easily just turn and leave. Now, when they get a little more advanced, this position's fine. It's not the Spanish walk, buddy. This position is fine, but when they're first learning, you want to make sure you can keep that nose between the 2 hands. So if his head is coming up, my arm is coming up. Okay, I always stay wrapped around this nose. He's always centered to me. All right, so after you practice those kind of feelings with the tools, you also want to make sure that you're able to rub your horse down on each side. And you're going to start this with the halter and lead rope on, just some basic desensitizing to the stick, making sure they're not worried about it. They also know the difference between kind of quiet energy versus when I'm adding energy through the sticks. See that slight lean away? He also has a headset cue, so that's why he went into that. But it's the difference between me rubbing with the sticks, not asking anything, and then me adding energy through them. They need to know the difference. So making sure that you can create kind of a soft environment for the horse with the sticks, but also respecting and understanding the boundaries, and when you're putting energy through them, they're just a simple extension of your arm. So for this funneling, you start by wrapping around the horse's face, and again, staying close enough that you could touch their cheeks. You're going to want to start this in a smaller area because your horse may wander off to the side. You also want to make sure you stop and reward pretty frequently when you first start this. Remember, your stop cue is those sticks coming down. With an experienced horse, you do want to reward every single time that they're soft and draw in, especially early on. Just do a few draw steps and stop and reward. If they get stuck, you either can tap the side to add energy, back up and draw them in, or you can unlock the shoulders. So for unlocking the shoulders, it looks like you're turning the nose with your arm and then backing up. Okay, this is as far away as I'd want you to be when you're starting with your horse, where I can still reach out and touch the cheeks if I need to. Later on, you can get further and further away, but you just want to make sure that that nose stays centered and into you. When you begin this exercise, you're going to start not only with the short frequent stops, but on the straight lines. And eventually you're going to evolve it to circling, because eventually you'll be doing liberty circles and wanting that horse to push around you. If you refer to my mark training video, that can help talk a little bit about bend for liberty circles. Good. Now, if you want to start to work with both whips on one side or the other, that horse is going to occupy the open shoulder. So if I'm drawing right now with a stick on each side, he's centered to me. If I have both sticks on my right, he should be drawing up to my left shoulder and stopping right where his pole is in line with this shoulder. Same thing for the other side. If I have both sticks on the right side of me, left side of me, he should be drawing to that right shoulder of me, whatever side is open. So whether it's centered, left, or right, good boy. He should be at that open shoulder. So that's just a little bit on funneling, how to get you started on it. Again, you want to start in a smaller space. I'm going to show this with a horse that hasn't done it before as well, but it's always good to see what you want that end product to look like before you start to move along. They just need to understand the sticks on the side, if they're up, to come straight forward towards you. When you are backing up and creating space for them to come into, that is the draw you are creating and inviting them in. When they come down, that is the release. If your horse is bumping into you, you're going to want to back them up. Again, in those liberty videos, I talk about the backup, so you can see the different ways that I teach my horses to back up there. It just helps with the boundary and kind of understanding the distance to you. But I think we should take a look at a horse that hasn't done funneling before, so we can maybe run into some problems there and figure out what we need to work on and how to help you guys through your problems. But that is funneling with a horse that has done it before. This right here is Rohan. He is another Mustang I'm borrowing from Camille. He hasn't done this exercise before, but he's very sensitive and snorty. So this will give you a good idea of what it might look like doing your first session funneling if you have a more sensitive horse. So I'm going to start just with one stick, and I'm going to reach up and touch his side with it and rub him down. And I know he's had some desensitizing work done already, so he shouldn't be too reactive. What might make the difference for him is when I'm petting him on each side with one. Good boy. Okay, so a little bit of just rubbing down, making sure he's comfortable with it. And then I might put the sticks up and back up to bring him in and release when he does walk into me. Good boy. So sticks up, back up to bring him in, release when he walks into me. You can tell even from that first draw that he was pushing a little bit out on this outside stick. So I'm going to keep him on the halter for a little bit longer. Right here when he gets stuck, I'm going to turn him off of that outside stick, give him space to come into, make sure he knows he can't press into it. Good, and then release. There we go. And let's just try without the halter on. So building their confidence small first is really, really important for them. Good, and then I might release after a draw like that. Notice when I release, I kind of keep that outside arm up since he's pushing into it, but my stick is still down. I want him to learn he can't press on that outside boundary. Sticks up, walking backwards. I might do a little bit of a direction change here. And you see he's always pushing into that left side there. I might reward right there because he didn't press into it. Good boy. And again, sticks up and back up, and I don't want to back up so far again that I can't reach and touch his cheeks. Good. If they get stuck and you haven't released yet, turn to the side to unlock the shoulders. There's him doing a little bit of the resisting to that pressure, so I make sure my arm stays at the height of that cheek. If he lifts it up, so does my arm. My arm lifts up as well. Good boy. Now before you start funneling, you saw him, I just pulled him right out and started on this. You might want to teach him that backup cue first. I do recommend running through all of that intro to liberty stuff first. Good boy. If you have one that's a little bit dull and unmotivated, you could use positive reinforcement to kind of encourage them to get a little bit more creative and understand the draw better. Not use it as a luring technique or trying to bribe them, but just truly as a reward. And I will be posting a video in the future on how to correctly use positive reinforcement. Right now, this video is all just negative reinforcement, which is taking away pressure to reward a behavior. Good boy. And we'll just do a little bit more, just a little more draw. Again, pushing onto that side, so I'm gonna stay strong and make sure I get wrapped around over there. Good. As soon as he moves off that pressure, I give him space to come into. Right, and now I might make a sharp turn to my right with him, since he wants to push on that left side. That'll help him move off of the left stick. Good boy. Good, and then I might stop and reward him again. Good, so he's actually doing pretty fantastic with it. Sensitive horses tend to have an easier time with these funneling, drawing exercises because they want to do right so badly. Like, they try really hard. You can tell, even with him, I have to have less energy when I ask him to go than my horse that is trained to do it already and has been doing it for years. So he'd be a great candidate for Liberty. He does pretty well at it. But yeah, that's a little bit on the funneling exercise. Funneling, keeping them in between the two sticks, making sure they don't get their nose out to the side like this. Keep them centered. And then again, if you have the sticks on one side, they need to be to that open shoulder. This is really great for encouraging horses to get a little more confident, coming in, getting more connected with you, and just starting to create a better line of communication. If you guys were interested in learning more about Liberty, I do offer some courses, maybe once a year, once every other year. I also do virtual coaching, so if you're having any problems with this funneling exercise, I'd love to help you out. Just send me a message and reach out to me. I've got all of that in the description. I know I don't usually self-promo at the end of these, but I do get a lot of comments of people asking for help on very specific things that their horses are doing, and it's really hard for me to help out unless I see video. So like I said, feel free to send me a message. I would love to help you and your horse progress with Liberty work.